Hi, I'm Paul. For this video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about ADHD. I'm also going to talk a little bit quicker on this video than I normally do, because otherwise, if I talk slow and there's any ADHD people listening, we're going to get bored. So, what I'm going to do on this video is I'm going to talk about ADHD from a person who had ADHD and who is now cured from ADHD. I'm going to put a question mark at the end of that because I'll explain in a moment why I put a question mark there. The reason, or what motivated me to do this video, was I was speaking to somebody who has quite a passion for helping people with ADHD. And he come up with something that I think I've heard of before, but it was quite accurate. And I wanted to put my perspective on it. Now, my perspective is going to be a little bit different, because the way I'm going to do it is, let's say perhaps I may have somewhat of insight, and I'm going to use my insight to maybe throw a little bit of light on it. So this person who has a passion in ADHD suggested that ADHD people have a hunter-gatherer mind. Now, maybe he didn't say mind, maybe he said brain, mind, brain, I'm not sure, but we'll get into that. So it was suggested that it was a hunter-gatherer mind, ADHD. And we're going to try and work out what that hunter-gatherer mind is. Now, I said I was ADHD. I was diagnosed, I think, 3 times ADHD. And I would say I'm not anymore. However, I did have quite a hunter-gatherer mind, and I still do. But I'm all right with that. It's pretty cool. So, talking about the hunter-gatherer mind, because that's how we're going to start off. Now, I don't know what this person exactly meant by the hunter-gatherer mind, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to guess that one. Hopefully I'm somewhat on the right line. So for a bit of description, I definitely have a hunter-gatherer sort of mind. In my healing time, should I say, I spent a couple of years living in a woodlands by myself. I sat outside in the woodlands, in the trees. I had the stars, the sky, the cold, the wind, the trees, the roe deer, muntjac deer, badgers. I had all the wildlife every single night. And I loved it. It was my world. Then I came home. And when I came home, I spent the first couple of weeks sat on the couch in the warmth with my eyes fixed on the telly or eyes fixed on the phone. After a couple of weeks, I started to realize this is just numb. It was dreadful. So I decided I'm going to take my chair outside, and every night since, I've been sat outside here in this woodlands in a chair, whatever the weather. And I love it. Oh, that is my, well, I know there's more to it, but that was my hunter-gatherer kind of mind. So, anyway, getting into it, hunter-gatherer mind. How do I start this? What is the hunter-gatherer mind? Can we say, is the hunter-gatherer mind the brain or the mind? Now we could look at this by saying, does it appear to be instinct, or does it appear to be something learnt over time? I think it's a pretty easy one to suggest that it's probably going to be more of an instinct, which suggests brain, not mind. Now another question would be, does this instinct or brain or hunter-gatherer brain move in time? Now, when I say move in time, what I mean is thought moves in time. So my thoughts can go into yesterday or tomorrow, or they could go into the now, or they could even go down the road to the shop. I could think about all these different things. Now, in this movement of thought, there's a movement. This is the mind, this is the programming. So this movement of thought being knowledge, memories, past experiences, ideas, and so on. This is how we build our personality. So the question was, does this instinctive brain, the hunter-gatherer, move in time? I would say probably not. But there's probably more to it. Let's say I have this instinct, the hunter-gatherer instinct. Now, let's say I reject it, like most ADHD people try to do, to try to fit in. So I reject it, and then I start to disguise it, go over it. I have this intense pull to do my instinct. But I cover over this by the movement of thoughts, telling me I should do this, or maybe if I did that, they'll laugh at me, and so on and so on and so on. So this is a movement of thought. Now, let's say I have that hunter-gatherer sort of pull, let's say. I was going to say desire, not desire, instinct. So I have that hunter-gatherer instinct. Let's say I go along with it. Okay, so I have this instinct to go out and pick some berries, shoot a deer with a bow and arrow or whatever. And I say, okay, yeah, cool, let's go for that. Now thought comes in. So here's the movement of thought. This is a mind. So now this thought comes in and it says that, you know, I want to, let's say, pick some berries or something. And a movement of thought. Firstly, let's say I want to pick some berries. I go into the past memories, knowledge, so on. I bring this into the present and say, right, I'm going to go and pick some berries. Then I say to myself, well, where are the berries? Where did I see them yesterday, maybe? So then I project this into the future, the movement of thought, let's say. So this is all based on knowledge, only the hunter-gatherer mind seems to be quite neglected, so we don't ever look into it. I'm too busy trying to copy everybody else. So anyway, what I'm suggesting here is a hunter-gatherer mind, brain, is most likely brain, instinct. It's something there and not learnt. Now, if that's the case, why don't so-called normal people have this hunter-gatherer brain? Maybe they do. Shall we ask that question? Why don't they have the instinct to move into the hunter-gatherer brain? So let's have a look at their mind, the modern mind. Does the modern mind have instinct, like to go on the computer, play a game, or is that desire? So does the modern mind move in time? I need to go to work. I have to do this at work tomorrow. Or I'm bored. What can I do? So to me, it seems that the modern mind moves in thought. So does an ADHD mind, to be honest, but it doesn't seem to be fixed. Well, maybe it is fixed, but it's interrupted still by the instinct brain. So the more modern mind seems to be quite occupied with thought. Thought is the mind, not the brain. Conditioning. So the more modern mind has been conditioned into the behaviors that we do and get reward from it. So if the modern mind has been conditioned into the modern world, why is it that ADHD can't move into this modern world? Why is it they still seem to be somewhat trapped in the hunter-gatherer mind, brain, sorry. So let's have a look at a different aspects of this. Say I've got a modern mind. I've got a decent job. Say I'm a therapist. I've got a decent house, a decent family, a decent car. And over the time, I've made this me. I, the centre. My whole self revolves around this. I go to work, and I meet other therapists and clients, which then fulfill my centre, making me satisfied. I go home. I have a family, my centre, my story, my life. And this family satisfies me. Same with a house and same with a car. Now let's say I was more pushed into this. Family, job, house, car. So it's not really my story. Not my centre, not my ego, not my drive. Now I go to work with other therapists. And I share my knowledge, but I don't get reward. Go home to the family, not my centre, don't get a reward. In fact, it all seems to be quite difficult. Now, what I'm suggesting with this is what I'm saying is to get rid of, to shift away from the hunter-gatherer mind without looking back. I have to have a decent centre, a decent story, a decent idea of me. Let's have a look at this in a different way. You're a teacher. I don't know, history teacher. I'm your ADHD student. I have no interest in history. No, I don't want to. You ask me a question, and I answer the question, and you say, yes, well done. And I go, I'm not interested. Okay, so I don't get a reward. Now, let's say in a different story, you're still a teacher, history teacher. I'm fascinated with history. Love it. Absolutely love history. This is me. I've studied history for ages. I know it all. So you ask me a question, and I say the answer. And you go, yes, well done. And I go, yes, I get a reward. That's my dopamine. Okay? So what am I saying here? What I'm saying is that to have a reward, I have to have an interest. That's what gives me my dopamine. But if that thing that I do, I don't have any interest in, I haven't made it me, sorry. I didn't grow up believing in all this. I still had the hunter-gatherer mind. I didn't go into the modern mind thought. So I still have the old mind. And I didn't buy into a lot of these crazy things that you all do. So I didn't make a story of it. I didn't make it me. Now everybody's around me telling me this is what I should do. And then they try to egg me on. Well done. Not interested. You see? So I need to have, no, it needs to be a part of me for me to get a reward. Now, if we look at the more modern mind works in thought. Okay, movement of thought. We're egged on as children in schools and parents and so on. We're egged on to find a centre. Now, when I talk about the center, I'm really referring to the ego, the me, the I. So we're driven into this by becoming, which all in schools also think, think, think. Now, the thinking is away from instincts. You see, instincts you don't have to think about, do you? More truth. But the more that you think, you're driven into your thought. So we need, let's say, do I say a gateway into thought? The ego being the gateway into thought? Nope. Let's look at it a different way. The ego is like a container for me, still fragmented, based on knowledge, built with thought, built with ideas. Now, in this container, which is the me, I could place different fragments, different ideas, different parts of me, my work me, my home me, my music, my programs, my so on. So essentially the ego is empty, but we put different parts in, different fragments at different times. Now, for some reason, we seem to think that by having this ego, it can bring all the parts together. It doesn't do that. It takes one part and then another part and then another part. Okay? What I'm saying by this is, let's say I get bored, and then I pull out my music fragment. This is the type of music that I like, my music. And then I listen to my music, and that's now fulfilling, or let's say synchronizing with the me. The music I like is synchronizing with the me. The me is the past, the music that I used to listen to, the type of music I enjoy. And I go to work. So I take out the fragment of me, serious me with all my knowledge at work. But I can't use the fragment of music for work. It doesn't happen like that. So I have to let go of that fragment of me in the music. I was going to get onto something else here. Oh yeah, the me, the story of me is the past. Okay, we can see this because we also build up a you. Let's say I know you. I've known you for a long time. We're friends. We've met thousands of times, so on. Now I have this you also. But it's the past. It's the, let's say I also have an empty container of you. And in this container I put in, this is how you behave, this is how you like things, and so on and so on. So I build up this of you, but this is all past. My memories, the things I've built up about you. When I meet you, I recognize you from the past. And I say, this is you. Now, that's not really a good idea because it's not you. It's me projected onto you. But that's not important. What I'm saying is, we create a self, an I, in the same way, but we also create a you. It contains parts of me, which is all fragmented, and essentially the whole thing's fragmented, even the me. We could say that the me is a center. Only it's not the center because we push out a lot of our mind. I'm sure in psychology, if you said that they did a study and we only have 5% of our consciousness, we're only conscious of 5%. It's quite fragmented. The question is, why? Why only 5%? I think actually a recent study was done and it showed it was 4%. Why? So then, who invented the unconscious mind? The bits of the mind that I push behind, push away, but I don't want to see. Is it reasonable to say that perhaps the other 95% is in there? Even the hunter-gatherer mind, pushed away, to be replaced by the movement of thought in the modern mind? Now, the thing is When we gain a center, which shrinks our consciousness down to whatever it is, 5%, 4%, 10%, whatever it is, shrinks our consciousness down to that. We focus on this center, plus the fragmented parts, what are in the center, that says this is who I am. In the same way that we say this is who you are. So then we push out. Now I'm talking about the so-called normal person here. We push out a lot of our consciousness, let's say. Unconsciousness. Our hunter-gatherer mind. And we successfully do it by being busy. I mean, to the normal person, when was the last time you stopped thinking? When was the last time you emptied your consciousness as we know it, thought, to give yourself time? So no ideas, no society, no family, no house, no thoughts, no me, no knowledge, no my. I reckon I'm safe to say never. Now also, the ADHD mind also hasn't. Get on to that. Where do I go next? ADHD tend to daydream. Let's go on to that. What is boredom? Let's say I'm bored. What happens first? I start daydreaming, going into my mind, going into thought. And while I'm in the thought, it's like there's this gnawing, this irritation, aggravation. It's like it's pushing me just to get out and do something else. Okay? So I push it. I keep on trying to stick with the boredom. And it gets worse. You see, when you look at this type of boredom, it's kind of similar to an addiction. People who are addicted to things, alcohol, so on, and they run out of alcohol. Now that desperation is the same as what boredom gets like when you ignore it. But yet still we ignore it. Sit with it. What happens? The next stage is, this might be interesting because I think this is where what some people call spaghetti brain is. So I ignore the boredom. And it feels like my brain's going chaotic, electric shocks everywhere. Also feels maybe like 100 million thoughts all happening at once, but only getting the first word of every single one of them. My brain's falling apart. It's going to chaos. Why? I had a look at this a while ago. What I noticed was in boredom, the brain starts to feel like it's falling apart, like what I've just described with a spaghetti brain and electric shocks and so on and so on. Now, what's happening at this point is I'm losing interest of everything, okay? This is because I haven't got a center at the moment, nothing to focus on. And because I don't focus on something, everything else in the brain starts coming through. You see, think about it. When we have a center, as I said before, our consciousness narrows, gets smaller. We focus on, it's like looking through a tube. When we have a center, it's like looking through a tube. I only see the place where I'm thinking of, the me, the things that interest me, the things that fulfill me. And this sustains this center. When all this falls apart, it's like taking away the tube and everything else starts coming in. And I don't know how to deal with that. So what's the idea of having a center? Give security to the brain, keep it fixed. I believe there was a woman years ago who we did a study on. She was constantly doing sums in her head. Now, as long as she did the sums in her head, then her head stayed, or her brain stayed calm. stayed focused. But the moment she stopped doing sums, her head went chaotic. Now, I believe he put the probes on the head to measure it, however he did it, I don't know. But what I'm saying is we rely on having a centre. Something to focus on, something to keep the brain in order. Otherwise it falls apart. This is the ego, the centre. Now the thing is why is it that some people seem to be able to stay on a centre, on a focus, and some people don't? You see this in OCD. My brain's nice and calm and I'm okay as long as I wash my hands. So why is it that some people are able to stay on a centre and some people aren't? Now the centre of the ego, it gets developed quite young. I mean, I believe it's first off 18 months. That's not important. That's the division, separation. That's where I start creating this separate me. And this builds up to about 6 or 7 years old. And if that center, the ego, the container, the I, is not created fully by that point, it never will be. You will never gain a proper ego. That's not a bad thing. Trust me. So what happens when I've not created a full-blown, solid, structured ego? Then I'm always striving to find a center, anything to focus on. Whether it be throwing a pen across a classroom, whether it be misbehaving, whether it be something interesting, whether it be from one thing or another. The only trouble is I could never reach the end goal. Don't have a center. I can't fulfill. Like I said before, when you have a center like my job, and I meet people in the thing that I'm interested in and they talk and it fulfills my center, I don't have to make the effort. Society itself is helping me. When I've not got that center, when it doesn't belong to me, when it's not a part of me, I have to work really hard and I still don't get the reward. I think over time, when you're in this position, we get stuck at a stage of desire. Now, when I mention desire, you're probably thinking, I desire something because I want to seek the reward at the end of it. That might well be the case for a person with an ego, a self. It fulfills them. But I haven't got that as an ADHD. So really, there's no need on me actually making it to the end, is there? I can just sit in desire. Stay there. It gives me a center, it gives me a focus. Just to stay in the position of, I want that, I desire to be seen, I desire to fit in, I desire to be good at this, I desire this, so on. But every time I reach the point, or even just the point of actually succeeding, I get bored. In fact, perhaps I even fear actually succeeding because that means I'm now going to have to find something else to desire. To me, it seems like I don't want to be the hunter-gatherer mind because everybody's telling me that I behave wrong. But I didn't make a fixed state in the modern world. It didn't make it part of me. It just didn't quite make it. So I'm always finding something else to make the me. Never making it. So, what's the option? Do I carry on trying to desire, trying to make it in the world? Probably not going to be able to. You go and see somebody, an expert, they'll tell you what you need to do. You need to work hard, find a desire, and keep going. I've tried that one 100 times. It don't work. You could go backwards. But you know what? Screw the world. Let's go along with my hunter-gatherer mind. It's not to worry too much about what I'm always getting told to do. Be me. Some people say that you need to try and find your true self. And I've had a lot of people ask me, how do I find my true self? You can't find your true self. Because trying to find, think about it, find movement, desire, to find me, you're just going to be making a new me. Maybe I'll be this, or maybe I'll be that. You see, to find your true self, don't worry about the true self. Let that be. Find the false. Find the behaviors that you've been learning along the way. I want to be this, I want to fit in, I want to, so on. Find them. Say, that's not me. That's not me. And your true self will appear at the end of that. Whatever's the not me, when that goes, there's a true self. So what's the option with ADHD? Do I go forwards? Do I go backwards? Don't know. Completely up to you. I'm just trying to say that, you know what, here's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that you at the beginning with ADHD knew more about truth. Knew more about the true world than the majority of people around you. See, everybody around you is getting conditioned into the modern world. Slavery, working all hours, trying to find comfort in computers, all that boring stuff. But at some point you got fooled yourself. Only you got fooled a little bit too late. But it didn't quite take a hold of you like it did with everybody else. So now you're trapped in two worlds. Running away from the real me by trying to pretend to not be me. Well's trying to pretend to be, no, to become. And this becoming never works. Because it's a never-ending becoming. Striving. I don't know which way to go. I know what I did. Give it a look. It's like the modern world. I haven't watched television in 20 odd years. I sit outside here and stare at the trees every night. I question everything about my own mind. It suits me. So do I have ADHD still? No, probably not. Do you know, I remember a time I went to therapy. Right at the end of the therapy, it was basically the last lesson, last talk, whatever you want to call it. Something weird happened. See, in therapy, I did a lot of insight. Well, apparently, according to my therapist, I was one of the best people he'd met of my insight. So I did a lot of my therapy and insight, and the way I talked about things is I quite often closed my eyes and I would just say, you know, I can see this, I can see me. I'm probably 6 years old. I can see I look upset, blah, blah, blah. So I would kind of do it like that. But on the last session, I was in a cave. I started off the session in a cave, but I wasn't making full sense of what was going on. By the end of the session, I fell out of the cave. I don't know exactly, but I just went shooting out of the entrance. And the entrance had this slime. I don't know why this is important. It probably is. But I fell out anyway. And from that moment on, everything changed. Like, not just a little bit. I remember walking around for a few months afterwards. And if you've got ADHD, you'll know. Well, you won't know this, but you'll know what it's like, what it was like for me before. So what I noticed is I was walking around everywhere like this. Because when I moved my hands, it was so relaxed. Like, unbelievably relaxed. All right, throughout my whole life, I would hold a pen like I was trying to squeeze and break it. And in this moment, everything totally changed. It was unbelievable how much my body relaxed. Now, I believe this was the point where I basically said, screw you to the ego, or what ego I had. I went and found my own way. I kind of had a plan on what I was going to talk about in this video-ish, or the direction it was going to go, and I've probably not done the majority of it. But I'll probably cover a bit, so thanks very much for listening.